Hello and namaste to dear students and all our valued viewers. You are welcome back to Teach Nepal. I am Bidur Nepane. Today I am going to present you a new lesson of Compulsory English Grade 11 new course, that is Unit 2 of Section 2 under Literary Studies. The second unit or the second short story called The Oval Portrait. In this video, I'll deal with the summary, analysis, interpretation, theme, and the question answers of this lesson. Therefore, please watch the video till the end to get the complete understanding of the story. That students, let me start today's lesson. Before I begin, I'd like to request you all to subscribe my channel for all the many new videos and updates. Please press the notification bell to get notified about my new videos automatically. Now let's begin. The Oval Portrait by Edgar Allan Poe, the second short story of grade 11 compulsory English, new course 2077. This is of section 2 literary studies. Content inside about the author, setting, characters, summary, analysis, themes, question answers. I'll deal with the question answers mentioned in your textbook. So I request all of you to watch the video till the end to get all these ideas about today's lesson. About the author, Edgar Allan Poe was an American writer, poet, editor, and literary critic. Poe is best known for his poetry and short stories, particularly his tales of mystery. He is widely regarded as a central figure of Romanticism, means that is the time period, duration of English literature. So you don't need much more information than this, right? If you get these ideas about the poet, then this is enough. Now, setting of the story. What is the setting? The setting for this short story is an abandoned chateau, that it means a house or bungalow in a mountain range called the Apennines. That runs, Apennines means that the mountain, right, runs the length of the center of Italy. More especially, the setting of this story is a fantastic turret room, means decorated room in that chateau, means house, right? The characters are the narrator himself, right? Because this is the story is narrated in the first person point of view. The Pedro or the valet, the male servant there, the painter, the painter who painted that painting, but not the active character, right? The woman of the oval portrait. So these can be called the characters. They roam around the story, right? Next, the summary. Now let's get started with the summary. The oval portrait means the oval portrait भनेको के बुझिन्छ फर्स्टमा we need to understand that the picture, right? This is just the picture in the oval shape, right? That is drawn. That is what you call oval portrait. This was first published as a longer version titled Life in Death in Graham's magazine in 1842. The shorter version, renamed The Oval Portrait, was published in the April 26, 1845 edition of the Broadway Journal. This is the story of an artist who wants to make a painting of his young wife. आफ्नो एउटा young wife को painting बनाउन चाहन्छ, right? Because he was the painter, but becomes so obsessed with it that he doesn't realize his wife is dying meanwhile. आफ्नो पेन्टिङ बनाउँदा बनाउँदै वाइफ चाहिँ उसँग डिप्रेस्ड भएर वाइफको डेथ हुन्छ. दिस इज अ सर्ट हरर स्टोरी अबाउट द रिलेसनसिप बिट्विन आर्ट एन्ड लाइफ. स्टोरीले चाहिँ आर्ट र लाइफको रियालिटी देखाउन खोजिरहेको छ. थ्रु द न्यारेटर्स इन्काउन्टर विथ द ओभल पोर्ट्रेट अफ अ यङ मन्स इन अ च्याटेओ इन द एपेनिज. जुन त्यो घरमा चाहिँ बस्न गइरहेको हुन्छ भित्र, त्यहाँ चाहिँ उसले एउटा बुक देख्छ. त्यो बुकमा चाहिँ उसले ओभल पोर्ट्रेट, एउटा यङ मनको ओभल पोर्ट्रेट देखिरहेको हुन्छ एउटा बुकभित्र, बुक पढ्दै गर्दा, राइट? So the Oval Portrait 1842 is one of the shortest tales Edgar Allan Poe ever wrote. In just a few pages, he offers a powerful story about the relationship between art and life. Through the narrator's encounter with the oval portrait of a young man in a shadow in the Apennines, the story repays close analysis because of the way Poe offers his story as a subtle commentary on link between life and art. उसले चाहिँ लाइफ र आर्टमा अथवा आर्टिस्ट र उसको रियल लाइफ अथवा रियल कन्टेन्ट अथवा रियल लाइफ सिचुएसनको बारेमा चाहिँ हामीलाई द ओभल पोर्ट्रेट स्टोरीले चाहिँ केही आइडियाहरू दिएको छ, राइट? So let's get from the beginning. कसरी सुरु हुन्छ? The narrator, wounded and delirious, has sought shelter in an old mansion with his valet or manservant. भनेको आफ्नो एउटा आफ्नो सर्भेन्टसँग wounded ऊ चाहिँ घाइते हुन्छ र सिरियस अवस्थामा हुन्छ र एउटा घरभित्र छिर्न खोजेर आउँछ पेड्रोसँग. He walks up in one of the room. He gets into one of the room and contemplates the strange painting and adorning the walls of the room. एउटा strange painting देख्छ, and he reads a small book he had found on the pillow of the bed, which contains information about the painting. There was the information about the painting in that book. At around midnight, he adjusts the candelabrum in the room. Candle बालेर चाहिँ उसले त्यो पढ्ने काम गरेर आउँछ, and his eye catches a portrait he hadn't previously noticed. अगाडि नोटिस नगरेको एउटा पिक्चर उसले भेट्छ, in an oval shaped frame depicting a young girl on the threshold of womanhood. वुमन हुन लागेको के एउटा गर्लबाट वुमनमा चेन्ज हुन लागेको एउटा वयस्क केटीको चाहिँ फोटो उसले त्यहाँ भेटेको हुन्छ, पिक्चर पेन्ट गरेको. द नेरेटर इज क्याप्टिभेटेड मिन्स जस्ट यु आर एल्युड बाई दिस पोर्ट्रेट विच सिम्स सो लाइफ लाइक, एकदम लाइफ लाइक रियल जस्तो देखिने. बट ही सुन बिकम्स appalled by it. He turns to the book and reads the entry detailing the history behind the oval portrait. कस्तो किन बनाइयो, कसले बनायो भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ बुकमा पढ्न लाग्यो नेरेटरले. द वुमन डिपिक्टेड इन इट वाज द यङ ब्राइड अफ द पेन्टर. भर्खरै बिहे गरेको, सी वाज द न्युली ब्राइड एन्ड वाज अ पर्फेक्ट वाइफ इन एभ्री रेस्पेक्ट. सी वाज अ पर्फेक्ट वाइफ एक्सेप्ट द्याट सी वाज जेलस अफ हर हस्बेन्ड आर्ट, राइट. सो जसले गर्दा चाहिँ उसलाई आफ्नो हस्बेन्डको माया लिनबाट चाहिँ वञ्चित गरेको थियो, राइट. बिकज द हस्बेन्ड वाज इन्गेज इन आर्ट मोस्ट अफ द टाइम. द आर्टिस्ट पेन्ट्स अ प्रोट्रेट अफ हिज वाइफ. आर्टिस्टले आफ्नो वाइफको प्रोट्रेट अथवा पेन्टिङ बनाइरहेको थियो, एन्ड बिकम्स मोर एन्ड मोर obsessed with capturing her likeness. ठ्याक्कै उसले आफ्नो वाइफ जस्तो छ त्यस्तै उतार्न खोजिरह्यो आफ्नो पेन्टिङमा लामो समय लगाएर, until he ends up spending all of his time gazing at the portrait of his wife and hardly any time looking at her, right. उसले चाहिँ आफ्नो वाइफलाई हेर्ने टाइम पनि पाइरहेको थिएन, राइट. मिन्स रियल गएर उसले चाहिँ बिकज यु आर जस्ट engaged in painting her life like sketch, she becomes weaker and weaker, dispirited from looking her husband. आफ्नो हस्बेन्डलाई जस्ट हेर्दा losing her husband, love as he stops paying her attention. उसले आफ्नो attention पे गरेर पनि छाड्यो. When he had just he was about to finish the portrait and turns to regard his wife, आफ्नो वाइफलाई चाहिँ लभ सो गर्न अथवा त्यो पेन्टिङ देखाउन गइरहेको हुन्छ. इट इज टु फाइन्ड द्याट सी हेज डाइड. र पछि उसले आफ्नो वाइफ मरेको भेट्छ लास्टमा चाहिँ, जब उसले आफ्नो पेन्टिङ सक्छ र वाइफलाई चाहिँ आफ्नो माया देखाउन अथवा आफूले गरेको काम देखाउन गइरहेको हुन्छ. सो ही फाइन्ड्स द्याट सी वाज डेड देयर, राइट. So what makes Edgar Allan's best stories more than just gripping gothic horror tales or unsettling stories the way he clearly depicts a central idea. एकदम exactly central idea के दिन खोजेको छ भन्दा, which the story experts and analyzes. The oval portrait offers a fine example of this. It can clearly be analyzed as a short story about the uneasy relationship between life and art. Life र आर्टमा चाहिँ कस्तो एउटा रिलेसनसिप छ त, अनइजी रिलेसनसिप, embodied by the young bride and the oval portrait her artist husband paints of her. But precisely what the story is suggesting about the link between life and art, right. The relationship between life and art is not easy. इजी छैन भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ देखाइएको छ लाइफ र आर्टको relationship चाहिँ. Yet given the conclusion of this story, when the bride dies ironically just after her husband has perfected her portrait with a cry, this is indeed life itself. Life के हो त भन्ने कुरा, right. It seems possible to hypothesize an analysis of the oval portrait which sees the story as a warning about the danger of neglecting reality. हामीले चाहिँ रियालिटीलाई नेग्लेक्ट गर्नुहुन्न. बिकज त्यो आर्टलाई टाइम दिँदा उसले आफ्नो वाइफलाई टाइम दिन छोडेको थियो, राइट. पेन्टरले आफ्नो वाइफलाई टाइम दिन सकेन, त्यसले गर्दा चाहिँ उसलाई नेग्लेक्ट गरे जस्तो भयो वाइफलाई, र ऊ चाहिँ आफ्नो उसको वाइफ चाहिँ डिप्रेस्ड भएर त्यो कारणले गर्दा मलाई हस्बेन्डले नेग्लेक्ट गर्यो भन्ने कारणले गर्दा चाहिँ डिप्रेस्ड भएर लास्टमा सी डाइड, राइट. सो द्याट इज द रियालिटी अफ लाइफ and what is the reality of art. आर्टको रियालिटी पनि एक खालको प्रब्लम, एक खालको सफरिङ, एक खालको complications, right? There are the different things. As soon as the artist stops looking to a reality, of reality हेर्न खोज्यो, reality हेर्न खोज्दा embodied in the tree by his devoted but increasingly weaker wife and becomes wrapped up in art itself, he makes a grave eater, right? So त्यसले गर्दा चाहिँ लास्टमा चाहिँ उसले मैले गल्ती गरेँ भन्ने चाहिँ रियलाइज हुन्छ, बिकज he did not pay attention towards his wife, right? Alternatively, though we might hypothesize an analysis of the story that views it as less of moralizing tale and a moral of a simple exploration of the way things are. In this reading, we might see the story not as a cautionary tale, right? एउटा चाहिँ सचेत गराउने टेल मात्र नभएर about the dangers of prevailing art over life, right? हामी लाइफमा चाहिँ हाम्रो आर्टमा मात्र लागिरहने र चाहिँ लाइफको अर्को पार्टलाई बिर्सने कुराहरूलाई मात्र सचेत गराएको छैन, बट मेयरली एज ए स्टेटमेन्ट अबाउट द नेचर अफ क्रिएटिभिटी. क्रिएटिभिटी भन्ने के कुरा हो त? मान्छेले क्रिएटिभिटीको कारणले गर्दा दे फर्गेट अदर थिङ्स, होइन? आफ्नो क्रिएटिभिटीले गर्दा अरू कुराहरू चाहिँ बिर्सिन्छन्, राइट? जब हामी चाहिँ एउटा काम गरिरहेको छौँ, फर इक्जाम्पल तपाईँ चाहिँ केही काम गर्दै हुनुहुन्छ र तपाईँले किचनमा चाहिँ केही पकाउँदै हुनुहुन्छ भने त्यो तपाईँले काम गरिरहनुहुन्छ तर किचनमा पाकेको कुराहरू तपाईँले बिर्सिनुहुन्छ. त्यो चाहिँ माइट बी इट क्यान बी बर्न, राइट? यो चाहिँ त्यो चाहिँ खानेकुरा चाहिँ जलिसकेको हुनसक्छ तर तपाईँलाई याद हुन्न, पछि लामो समयपछि जब सक्नुहुन्छ त्यसपछि मात्र याद हुन्छ. द सेम थिङ ह्याड ह्यापन इन द narrative, sorry, that painter's life, that no great art was ever created without cost. केही मूल्य नचुकाइकन चाहिँ ग्रेट आर्टहरू हुँदैन भन्ने कुराहरू नि म्यासेज दिन खोजेको छ. आफ्टर अल द ओभल प्रोटेक्ट इज एन आर्टिस्टिक सक्सेस. इट इज इन इट सेल्फ लाइफ लाइक क्वालिटी एन्ड द आर्टिस्ट ट्रेम्प इन ह्याभिङ म्यानेज टु क्याप्चर द सिन्स, राइट? सो this is about the painter's life, right? So what's more, there is no moral framework for the story's conclusion. I have already told you that चाहिँ एउटा मूल्य नचुकाइकन लाइफ र आर्टको अथवा आर्टको चाहिँ एक्जिस्टेन्स हुन्न भन्ने कुराहरू, राइट? The story breaks off at the end without returning to hear the narrator's thought. अब narratorलाई त्यो कुरा कस्तो लाग्यो भन्ने कुराहरू चाहिँ लास्टमा दिएको छैन, त्यतिकै चाहिँ स्टोरी इन हुन्छ. एनालिसिस एन्ड इन्टरप्रिटेसन. द सेन्ट्रल आइडिया अफ द स्टोरी रिसाइड्स इन कन्फ्युजिङ रिलेसनसिप बिट्विन लाइफ एन्ड आर्ट. द ओभल प्रोटेक्ट आर्ट एन्ड द एडिक्सन. कसरी राइटर चाहिँ एडिक्टेड थियो आफ्नो आर्टमा भन्ने कुरा. इन दिस कन्टेक्स्ट वान क्यान सिनोनिमसली इक्वेट आर्ट विथ डेथ. आर्टलाई डेथसँग पनि रिलेट गर्न सकिन्छ, राइट? आर्टले गर्दा कसरी डेथसम्म लिड गर्छ, वेरेज द रिलेसनसिप बिट्विन आर्ट एन्ड लाइफ इज कन्सिक्वेन्टली कन्सिडर एज अ राइभलरी. यो चाहिँ राइभलरी हो अथवा यो चाहिँ एनिमी हो, राइट? भन्ने कुराहरू. आर्ट चाहिँ लाइफको एनिमी हो भनेर पनि चाहिँ रिलेट गर्न सकियो. इट टेक्स पोइट थ्योरी द्याट पोइट्री as art is a rhythmical creation of beauty and the most poetic topic in the world is the death of a beautiful woman. The oval protest suggests that the woman's beauty condemns her to death. एउटा वुमनको ब्युटीले गर्दा चाहिँ उसलाई डेथसम्म लिड गर्यो, राइट? पोइट सजेस्ट द्याट in the tale that art can reveal the artist guilt, right? Poet suggests in the tale that art can reveal the artist guilt. आर्टिस्टको चाहिँ गिल्ट अथवा कमजोरीहरू चाहिँ रिफिल गर्न सक्छ आर्टले, or evil, and that the artist feeds on may even destroy the life. त्यसले गर्दा चाहिँ लाइफ पनि डिस्ट्रोय गर्न सक्छ. What are the themes? The main theme of the oval protect is narcissism. Narcissism भनेको चाहिँ आफूलाई एडमायर गर्ने र अरूलाई इग्नोर गर्ने त्यो वेलाई चाहिँ के भन्छ? नार्सिसिजम. द हेबिट अफ एडमायरिङ युर सेल्फ टु मच, स्पेसली युर अपियरेन्स, है? सो दिस इज द थीम, मेन थीम अफ द स्टोरी, द ओभल प्रोटेक्ट. नार्सिसिजम इज द पर्स्युट अफ ग्रेटिफिकेसन फ्रम भ्यानिटी अर इगोटिजम. अब खालको इगो हुनु आफैमा, होइन? फेल इन लभ विदिन हिज ओन इमेज आर reflect there, right? Symbols used. The painter is the symbol of fantasism that in the story takes face of the art, and the woman depicted in the oval portrait is the victim of painter's fantasism. She is described by the book too, right? So at last I have mentioned the answers. I have written the answers of these questions. So let's go through the question answers. Where did the narrator and his servant make forcible entrance? What special picture did the narrator notice in the room? Describe the portrait, and what the relationship between the portrait painter and its subject. Now let's go to this. So where did the narrator and his servant make forcible entrance? The narrator and his servant make forcible entrance into the chateau, or large French country house or castle there, right? What special picture did the narrator notice in the room? The narrator noticed the oval portrait of a young girl in the room. गर्लको चाहिँ ओभल पोर्ट्रेट भेटेको हो नि त होइन. डिस्क्राइब द पोर्ट्रेट द्याट द नेरेटर saw in the room. So कस्तो थियो भन्ने कुरा, it has a mere head and shoulders done in what it is technically termed as Byzantine manner, much in the style of the favor heads of Soleil. The arms, the bosoms, and even the ends of the radiant hair melted perceptibly into the vague yet deep shadow. So this is the frame was oval, richly gilded and fleisured in musque. Right, this is mentioned in your textbook. You can find the answer in the textbook also. What is the relationship between portrait and portrait painter and its subject? The artist paints a portrait of his wife, right, becomes more and more obsessed with capturing her likeness, right. उसले चाहिँ त्यो गर्दा गर्दै आफ्नो वाइफको चाहिँ पिक्चर क्याप्चर अथवा त्यो त्यसलाई पेन्टिङमा उतार्न खोज्दा खोज्दै लास्टमा चाहिँ वाइफ चाहिँ उतापट्टि डिप्रेस्ड भएर, राइट, एज सी वाज नेग्लेक्टेड, सी थट द्याट सी वाज नेग्लेक्टेड बाई हर हस्बेन्ड, राइट, सी डाइज. So this is the reality, or that is the relationship between the portrait painter and its subject, right. त्यसको सब्जेक्ट चाहिँ के थियो, त्यहाँ चाहिँ उसले आफ्नो वाइफको रियालिटी अथवा लाइफ लाइक थिङलाई चाहिँ आफ्नो पेन्टिङमा उतार्न खोजिरहेको थियो. So this is all about the story, the oval portrait. So it talks about the relationship between life and art, right. What is the relationship, exact relationship between life and art, right. So here the beautiful woman, right, she has to die because of her beauty, as the painter, right, or her husband was trying to paint or sketch the lifelike painting of his beautiful wife, right. So this is all about the story. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you have any queries about the lesson, please feel free to write a comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe our channel for other new videos. Thank you.